The new UK Attorney General Richard Hermer has intervened in the Foreign Office review of weapons sales to Israel. An exclusive story from The Guardian states that Richard Hermer wants to be certain that weapons are not being used to breach international humanitarian law. Keir Starmer's most senior legal advisor has intervened in the contentious decision over whether to ban UK arms sales to Israel. The Guardian has learned as officials struggle to distinguish between offensive and defensive weapons. Sources say Richard Hermer, the Attorney General, has told Foreign Office officials he will not approve a decision to ban some weapons sales until they can say for sure which could be used to break international humanitarian law. So apparently, this is the main cause of the delay. And as always, the Labour government continue to be indecisive and ineffective. As we supply very little arms to Israel, wouldn't it just be better just to say, let's just stop them all, just in the meantime, just to make sure we're not complicit in war crimes, crimes against humanity, and, genocide. And then you can go through the process later with a fine tooth comb. It would just be so much simpler. Curtis, what are your thoughts? Because I can't tell from this whether Richard Hermer is doing this for a good reason or a bad reason, as his appointment was welcomed by many pro-Palestinians. So is he doing this to actually get more stuff banned or to get less stuff banned, perhaps? I can't really tell.
Well, let me try and clarify for you. And I want to say that I pointed this out as soon as this was announced. When Labour said we're going to ban arms sales to Israel, but only the offensive ones. I mean, it was so clear it was a cop out from the beginning. I called it. I was right. I'm happy to say. Because at the time, I mean, how are you going to know the difference between the two? Netanyahu may well say, well, we promised to use these weapons for defensive purposes, only to then continue to use those weapons we sold to him and Israel to bomb children. Um, Basically, this is a very bad thing from the Attorney General, right? And essentially, what Labour are doing is that they're trying to signal that they were in favour of international law without doing it in practice, because that's a really good headline. Labour calls an arms ban to Israel, and then the fine print is, well, maybe some of them. But it's no different when politicians call for a ceasefire or a two-state solution, but continue to sell arms or refuse to put any pressure on Israel. So in terms of policy, everything stays the same. It's virtue signaling, and that's it. It's crazy to say that, right, well, even though the Labour Party said they were going to ban some weapons to Israel, because some of them may be actually defensive, we should halt that. That makes no damn sense. Any rational person will be like, right, okay, we're selling arms to Israel, and there's a chance, a small, tiny chance, that some of those are being used to commit war crimes. So the best thing to do would be to halt the sale of arms, then go through it and then go, okay, well, we found that there is no war crimes using these weapons, so resume it. Obviously, I would say don't resume it. But to kind of do the opposite and say, well, there's a chance that actually these weapons are for defensive purposes, not offensive purposes, that means we should stop it. That signals to me that this person is very happy to sell weapons to Israel and is trying to find some very strange excuse. I mean, that was an insane thing to say. I mean, David Lammy before the election, right? He was going to release the legal advice on arms sales to Israel. He has that information now. And where is it? Nothing. So there's no point in making statements when it's not backed up by policy. Another thing which is entirely predictable, and it's strange to me that Hermer is trying to intervene to stop this ban with a justification of this. It's the completely wrong thing to do. I mean, we should ban all arms sales anyway, but this it really makes no sense to me. And the only thing it tells me is this is not a good thing. And in terms of principle, he's absolutely fine that we sell our weapons to Israel.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to continue to happen. It just seems like it doesn't matter whether it's Israel, whether it's Gaza, Palestine, any issue. They're just constantly indecisive, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. We are talking, but the contracts that we're talking about, by the way, are only worth about £20 million, right? Like, even if we completely stop selling everything to Israel, it's not going to affect them in pretty much any way. They get enough arms and sales off of the US, as we very well know. So it just makes sense to me just stop. Why don't you just stop
Mm.
everything, go through the process, over the next few months while you stop selling these things to Israel just to make sure you're not complicit. And that would simply make more sense to me. It just seems like, again, that they're just frozen in these decisions. I don't know why. Is it US pressure? Because we obviously know that pretty much behind most of these stories, whether it's the ICJ to the ICC to weapons sales, that we have the shadow of the US whispering in the ears of our politicians and our prime minister. So I don't understand the indecisiveness around this when it's easier just to be like, oh, I'm not going to be complicit. Let's be extra careful, right? Because Keir Starmer's the one who constantly goes on about, being careful and being mindful. I just don't get it.
This is completely pathetic. And you rightly pointed out that in terms of our arms sales to Israel, it doesn't actually make a difference in holistically. And that's actually some of the defense that people say. Well, why are you calling on an arms sale when there's only like 1% of the arms? I don't care if we sent one weapon over. If I knew
Yeah.
that weapon was going towards a nation that is engaging in a genocide, then that is wrong. So principally, we shouldn't do it. But but what's so pathetic is it wouldn't make any difference to Israel materially. They'll still be doing the same things. They won't be any less powerful. Yet they decide to do it anyway because they want to suck up to Israel. And it's really pathetic stuff. That's what it is. Now, in terms of why are people like Hermer, who you say were kind of supported by pro-Palestinian people, or seem to be quite good on this issue ish, why is he capitulating? That's what power does. If you ask me, there are probably many people in the Labour Party, in the cabinet, who personally think what is going on in Palestine is disgraceful. That doesn't make you a good person. What makes you a good person is willing to stand up for it. I don't think that everyone in the Labour Party is a genocide monster, that they want to see the end of Palestinians. Not unlike some Israeli politicians, by the way, including Netanyahu. I think they do think what is happening is wrong, but the problem is that they're not. They don't have a spine, and they're not strong enough to stand up to power. And that's where you have these instances where you have people who may be seen as good on the issue. As soon as they get that little bit of power, there's that pushback, and they completely fold to it. Now it's not easy because we have entire systems that uphold imperialism, entire systems that uphold what Israel is doing. It's not easy, but you're a coward if you get into positions and you capitulate so easy. And that's kind of like what Keir Starmer is, and a whole host of things, not just when it comes to Israel Palestine, it comes to to taxing billionaires or investing in our public services, all these things. This is a Labour Party appointing people who probably deep down believe in some good policies, but I don't particularly care if you just simply believe in good policies. I care about if you're willing to push through on it, and none of these people are. I want to say I'm sick of all these reviews and waiting to see if X breaks international law. We know that Israel is breaking international law. I mean, we have the ICJ, sorry, give its verdict. We have again ICC arrest warrants for Netanyahu and other figures potentially coming out, but our politicians continue to quiver. We don't need any more reviews or legal advice. What Israel is doing is committing war crimes and genocide. And any government with a speck of humanity would halt all arms sales, threaten them with sanctions, and actually hold these people to account.
Well, with the shadow of the US, that's going to be very hard, right? Because despite all of these things, let's say if all these countries who supply anything to Israel stop supplying them, whether it's Germany, whether it's
Mm.
us, and we finally get to that point where the rest of the world is against Israel and they want to stop them, but they still have the US behind them. I just don't think it'll be enough. The US is the one that has to, fall in line with us and with our side to actually stop what's happening, which is why I'm just very scared of what is going to happen in the future because it's the US that we have to beat. Essentially, it's not even Israel. That they've just signed off what $20 billion worth of weapons. Just was it last week or the week before to Israel? We'll have to see. But also, as well, regarding this specific story, it was just last week that a group of humanitarians are taking the government to court about their arms sales to Israel. So maybe I don't know how the process fully works, but maybe we'll actually finally see that legal advice that Lamy has been so closely hiding under his shirt that you just mentioned, but we'll have to see.
I'm excited to say that Turn Left has significantly grown this year. And with that, we've managed to produce far more ambitious content, interviewing high profile people, we did a 12-hour live election show. There are multiple people behind Turn Left, but we are still working around our full-time work. But we would love it if this was our full-time. It means we could dedicate so much more and to bring even more ambitious content. So if you've been here from the beginning, or you've only recently become a viewer, if you like what we do, then you can help us out. Please like and share this video. Make sure you drop a comment. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your feedback. And we desperately need more independent media. If you want to see a socialist media alternative thrive, then you could be part of that. So if you could support us on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month, or any one-off donation. We can use that money to upgrade our equipment, to rent out a proper studio, and to start paying ourselves. This is only the beginning. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you, Turn Left.